Hey.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can you hear
Okay.
yourself? Do you hear echo or no?
No.
Oh, that's great.
Perfect. How are ya?
Good, good. Are you feeling any better?
I'm gonna go to sleep right after this, I think. So,
Oh, that's perfect. So you guys had like a little bit of bad
yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea what happened. So it may just be the weather. Yeah, I don't know. I need to take some like Tylenol or something too, probably as well. I haven't taken anything for it, so
all right. Cool. Hi, Miss Kitteras. I'm sorry if I butchered that. Hi, everyone. So I think we're just gonna give it like a couple minutes just to make sure that people are on, that we get a couple people going. Hi at
nice.
the Financial Phoenix. All things with love. Awesome. Hey, thanks for joining us. Hey. Okay.
Sweet. How
Do you want to
is
go?
everyone doing? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Wait, no, I think they do you want to go to another 2 minutes, but like, yeah, we can just talk. How's yeah,
Yeah.
go. How is everyone doing? How's everyone doing today? Still sunlight out here. Is still sunlight over there? What
Yeah,
time?
still so it goes to like 9 p.m. out here
Oh
now
my gosh, so lucky. It
nowadays.
only goes up
Yeah.
to like 8 over here in the summer. I remember being in Germany, it was like the sun was still up at 10 and I was like, "Wait, it's 10 already?" I'm like, "The sun's still
Oh,
up." And they're like, "Yeah, that's what happens here in the summer." And I was like,
that's pretty
"That
late. I wouldn't be able to go to bed ever.
I know." Hey, glad you're having a good Sunday at the Financial Phoenix.
He's out in Miami, so I'm sure
Oh,
it's similar down there too.
cool, cool.
But yeah, you ready to talk fire?
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So I figured we'd just start by introducing ourselves to everyone who's here. So my name is Maribel Francisco. I'm a money coach, and I'm like my dream, right, is to see females and immigrant families building generational wealth, and I'm here to make my dreams come true. I do want to make it like perfectly clear that I am not a like certified financial planner or anything. Everything you're going to hear here is just informational. We're not giving investment advice. How's
Absolutely.
that
And
sound?
I'm Ryan, Profits and Points. I focus on all things personal finance on my accounts, but I have a special interest, not something we're going to be talking about today, on credit cards and travel hacking and traveling for free. So, but excited to talk about fire today because it's kind of what got me into this world, and I think it's a very fascinating movement. But I know you have a bunch of notes and all that, so I don't know if you wanted to start talking about your thoughts on fire. If you want to give a background to what fire is for everyone that's
Yeah.
watching too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I figured we'd start on with some background, just kind of like for some of the people that are like, what is fire? I just kind of came into this live. I want to know, starting from scratch, starting from zero. Let's get you guys up to speed. So, fire is basically like, and I have notes so you guys will hear ruffling. Don't judge me. So, basically, you know, it's people want to it's kind of like trying to get out of the rat race, right? You're working 9 to 5, and I feel like everyone, the way to retirement is I'm gonna dedicate all these years to a company, and at the end of the day, I hope my company does what's best for me. And I think the fire movement also kind of grew out of some of that distrust of going like, well, I don't know that my company is gonna do the best thing for me, so let me try to get ready and build that net that although we do have like in the United States at least social security income that's going to come down the line and Medicare to try to take care of you, trying to build a better net for ourselves is what I feel like the fire movement is, or what it reflects, at least to me. And the idea first started in a book in the 1990s by called Your Money and Your Life by Vicki Robbins, yay girls, and Joe Dominguez, so yay guys, equal 50-50. And then it took about 2 decades to actually gain some traction and people to start, working out the whole math and going like, this is possible. Do you want to give a little bit more background before we get into the math?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's really taken off over the past decade. I know you said it started probably about 20, 30 years ago now, but yeah, I feel like it's really taken off over the past decade as social media and all of that has kind of expanded the movement. And there are different extremes of the FIRE movement, right? There are people that want to live on rice and beans and get to that retirement age as early as possible. There are people that adopt kind of a modified FIRE where they're cutting back in certain areas and using certain things to retire earlier, but maybe they don't want to stop working completely. So I've always thought FIRE is very much like whatever you want it to be. I think some people take it more strictly than others, but I'm a big fan of adapting it to your lifestyle and what you want now. Me personally, I like aspects of the FIRE movement. I won't say I'm pure FIRE because I enjoy travel and living now
Right.
too, and not cutting back completely. But yeah, that's just my viewpoint on the FIRE movement at the moment.
Yeah, and I think,
Yeah.
like all personal finance things, right? It's personal. It's how far you want to push the envelope on that. There is definitely fat FIRE, which is like you're balling, you're a millionaire. Don't worry, you're never going to run out of money, but that's because you built a substantial nest egg. And then there's, as far as I know, like barista FIRE, where it's like you still have a part-time job and you're living under like 40K USD a year, but you're still putting in the work so that you don't eat too much of your little nest egg. And the math behind FIRE was that basically, if you put your money in something to ride the market growth, like an index fund, it's going to grow on average like 7% per year, right? Sometimes I see 10, sometimes 8. Or the math here started with 7%, and then you reduce it by 3% for market inflation, and so you're left with a 4% profit, like year over year, that it keeps growing. So the idea is that if you are managed to survive on that 4%, you're never gonna like tear at that nest egg that you started with, but you'll always be able to keep on living off that 4%. So what you do is you take your yearly expenses. So say I'm gonna spend 20,000 in a year, and you're gonna divide it by that 4% to get what your FIRE number is. So 20,000 divided by 4%, and you guys can check the math and follow along. You need to save 500,000 invested in financial products. And so you need to leave it in the stock market, right? It's money that, yes, you can go into, but ideally you leave it there so it can just keep growing. You can keep getting that growth that's left over. Another way to do it is you can also do that 20,000 times 25. That also gets you to your FIRE number, which is 500,000. And so it depends, right? How high of a FIRE you want, because let's say you earn 80,000, but you really only spend half of that, which is 40,000, then you're going to do the 40,000 divided by 4%, which says you should keep a million invested. So I feel like that's kind of what discourages a lot of people, right? They're like, a million, what the heck? I earn like, this example is like, I earn 80K. Where the heck am I getting a million from? And that's where the beauty of the compounding interest in the stock market comes in. So do you have a little bit to say about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to, if you're comfortable sharing what you are aiming for and your own goals. I know me, you talked about Fat Fire a little bit. I do not spend anywhere close to $100,000 a year, but for some reason, I'm like, that sounds like the most luxurious retirement life. So that is my number, which is 2.5 million that I need to have in the bank, which
Yeah,
I am not close to, but that is, I at least have that number in my mind to strive for. So
right.
yeah, that was a great background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mine right now, I'm budgeting for me and a partner, whoever that partner ends up being. So I'm budgeting us spending 60,000 each, which gets me to about 3 million. And so that's me trying to reach 3 million by myself. And so I also did the math behind those numbers, and I put away about less than 1.5 thousand a month. So I did the math and I was like counting the money I already have invested, right? And this includes like personal brokerage plus retirement accounts that I'm not going to touch until retirement age. If I were to save less than $2,000 per month, and it would take me 156 years to get there. And I'm just like, that's not happening. I'm dead by then. But then I did it like, I was like, okay, what if I invest it and we put a 7% growth? And then it would take me 33 years. Plus, adding my age, I would be 61 by the time I get there. And right now, currently, retirement age is around like 66. I know there's different levels at which you can retire, but I'm going to go with 66. That's still 5 years before that 66 age range mark. And at that point, I built, at least for myself, the way I think of it, I built a much stronger safety net where I know that I'm not counting on my children to take care of me, my grandchildren to take care of me, or like some money to come out of like my family, or, you know, just out of magic or winning the lottery. Like I know I can at least sustain myself and one other partner or one other human.
Absolutely. There's a question in the chat.
Oh,
What age do you plan to retire? I guess that's to both of us. For me personally, I would like to retire by 50, but I think the word retire is like kind of tricky too, because I think a lot of people think of the word retire meaning like, okay, I'm gonna sit on the couch the rest of the day and like watch TV all day and like literally do nothing. I don't see myself ever truly retiring. I see myself working in some capacity. Just that is when I think I would hit financial freedom. Yeah. What about you?
me, I feel like I'm a workaholic, so I can't stop, right? I'm gonna have to be doing something. And that's kind of why. So I heard it from another like money coach named Delian, the money coach. She kind of replaced retire with relax early. And I feel like that kind of takes away some of that negative stigma of a lot of people going like, well, you're not really living up to fire because you're not really retiring, are you? You're still getting passive income. And it's like, okay, well, what about like relaxing? You now, you're more work optional. You can go, if you want to go be a bartender, go be a bartender, you know, because you're not going for the money anymore. You're doing it because you want to. You want to go have that career that didn't pay as much. You know, when they ask you that question when you go to college and they're like, if you could do anything and the money wasn't an issue, like what would you do? When you're like, I don't know what I want to do, and they ask you that question, and it's like, I feel like now you can just kind of go and run with it. You're like, done. Money is no
Yeah.
longer an issue. And
Yeah.
I'm probably just going to pick up my camera and go travel and meet people because I feel like we live on this earth with so many people with
Mhm.
so many different viewpoints that why not go out there and just try to meet them all. I know that's also impossible. That's impossible, but it's like, why not? Why not go? Why
Yeah,
not make it better? Yeah, if you could
absolutely.
take care of if you could stay on top of the messages,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
that'd be great. Thank you so
Yeah, I
much.
got it. Do you factor Social Security? I know you hinted at Social Security
I
earlier. Do you factor that in? Because I do not. I just assume it's not going to be there.
I don't eat right. So I feel
Yeah.
like so I'm millennial and I'm aging myself between a certain generation, right? But I mean, I've definitely heard, hey, you know, when you get there, Social Security is not going to exist because,
Mhm.
you know, a lot of people retired earlier, but they're living longer. It's not even going to be there. I know it's getting taken out of my check, but you know what? These people worked their lives too, so you know what? It's fine. But I don't factor it in at all. And then I was thinking, I was like, well, because you know how right now you can retire. There's like a couple different age groups at which you can retire, but that affects how
Mhm.
much of your Social Security income you get. So I
Mhm.
feel like if we retire before even those ages, I feel like we're getting our Social Security reduced already. And I'm just like, I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm not going to count it in. And if it does, it's an extra bonus. Like,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
one extra money coming in at the end of the day, I'm okay with that. But I'm not going to count on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the exact same way. I do feel like it'll be there in some form just because I think it would be so unpopular politically for them to scrap it completely. I don't think it's going to be what it looks like today, though, by the time we
Yeah.
retire as millennials. So, yeah, I don't know what it's going to be. So, yeah, I agree with all of that.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, let's see. Oh, so you had mentioned some things where you
Hmm.
said you weren't into like all of fire, right? Like, what are some points that you're like, I'm not 100% with the fire movement? Because, you know, I mean, it's all great and stuff, but I definitely want to provide like the full round for anybody who's coming in here and going like, what's fire about? Like, what are some of those points that you yourself are like, yeah, I don't necessarily, not
Yeah,
100% over there.
I won't say it's about the fire movement, but the more extreme people in fire that are living with 10 roommates until they're 40 and then They're living off like 5% of their salary. I'm just a believer that especially at our age in your 20s and 30s, this is the one time in your life. While I believe in being frugal and paying attention to your personal finances, this is also the one time of our life where many of us don't have children yet. Many of us are actually physically able to go and do things. So I think life needs to be enjoyed at the end of the day. I'm not saying go out and blow all your money traveling constantly and all that, but I do think that I think that there is just a false sense with some fire people that like you have to be miserable right now in order to achieve perfection and greatness once you retire. I think that's the other piece of it too, is I think a lot of very extreme fire people think once I retire, everything's going to be wonderful and life is going to be perfect, when that's not necessarily the case, you know? So I'm for enjoying life because life is short at the end of the day. But yeah, what about you?
I feel like that, yeah, I feel like that also has to do with when you're planning and you're figuring out your number, right? It's like,
Mm,
are you going to live in the United States, or are you going to
mm,
go with somewhere else where, and are you comfortable with that? Like relocating to somewhere else where your dollar is going to be at a favorable currency conversion, right? Am I going to go retire in Thailand? Because listen, then I could retire much earlier. I'm going to live like a king, queen, buy a freaking condo if they let me. And, I'm just going to live out my life, and monsoon season, I'll be back or go
yeah.
somewhere. But yeah, I also agree. I did, how you said like don't blow all your money and stuff. I did do that right after college. But I went to like study abroad in China because it was study abroad and the school was paying for it.
Mhm,
And then I went at the end of graduation. I had to go 1 week to Germany as part of my grade. It was 50% worth of my grade, so it's like I have to go or I failed and don't get my degree because I didn't take a plane. So I went, and then I was like, I had concentrated so much on like graduating with honors, setting up a student organization, and everything that I like pushed my hardest, but didn't really focus on like what's next. So I hadn't really applied to jobs.
mhm,
So when I got there, I was like, I'm young. I have the money. I have the time. Nothing is waiting back for me over there. Like, yes, my family, but they'll be there when I get back. I don't have
mhm,
like job prospects, like budget. And I had a buddy that I normally travel with. We had traveled abroad in China, and then he was coming back through. And he's like, yeah, I'm going through Europe. And I was like, so can I tag along? And I mean, I tagged along like 3 months, and then he left, and I just like did the other 3 months by myself, or like a couple more
mhm,
months after that by myself. And I
mhm.
like came back because I ran out of money and because I packed for summer and it was winter. And I was like, I gotta go back. I was like, it's time. No, like, gotta assume the responsibilities now. So I did do that. So I kind of like came back and started from zero again. And
Mhm,
so I feel like super great that I started like tracking my net worth, and I can like see it going up and up. And I'm like, I know that that wasn't there like a couple years back. That's definitely started
mhm,
from zero going all the way. It started at negative because um, like Bank of America will charge you like $12 if you fall under like $500 or something. And so
mhm.
somebody was just like putting money to like keep it at 500. So I was like, I owe you money when I get back. I'm like, I'm at negative when I get back.
Yeah, you made a great point about I think some people call it geographic arbitrage too, and figuring out your fire number, where your
Yeah.
number could vary widely depending on where you want to live too. And there's this good book, The 4 Hour Work Week, if anyone in the chat has ever read it. There's a whole section in there about being able to live somewhere else, and not even just abroad. I mean, there are places like I live in Washington, D.C. It is incredibly expensive here. I could move to the Midwest and like my fire number would change in
Right.
that scenario too. So just factoring in where you want to live as well in your fire number. And that could shave off years to get to your goal. So,
Hmm. Yeah. Because right here in California, it's like 500K house. That's like the minimum in the area that I wanted, nice suburban, near my
mhm,
family. That's like 500K house is like the average I'm looking at. There's definitely higher, and if you're going lower, you're gonna have to renovate that thing. But if
yeah,
I go to the Midwest, 200K and the house is yours. Go for it. You can start making that rental income. So it's
yeah,
also
yeah.
about looking into not just investing in the stock market, but then also maybe expanding into like, am I comfortable with investing in real estate and just making it a rental? Like if I did it right now, my idea is to get like a property manager. I'm not dealing with the headache. It may be less profit at the end of the day. I don't care. I just don't want to be having the headache.
Yeah,
Still
yeah.
gonna give me money. I'm cool with that.
I wanted to do that with Airbnbs, but it seems like that would require even more effort, like trying to turn over, not to get off topic, but
No,
trying to turn over like a property like that, like every few nights, but yeah, one
yeah,
day maybe. We'll
yeah.
see.
I've heard people doing that, and they'll like clean it themselves and stuff. And I'm like, I'd also hire a
Yeah,
cleaner. No, if
yeah.
I do Airbnb, I'm also hiring a cleaner. Trying to liberate more of my time. It's like the
Yeah.
exchange of like time for your money. It's like at some point you're like, yeah, I'll pay someone X amount because my time is worth more, or the time that I'm going to spend with my children or my family is worth more to me than the money I'm going to spend somebody else for their hard work.
hmm we have a question. Any
Yeah.
thoughts on keeping your money in a savings account? How about buying gold? I don't know if you want to take this one. I have thoughts on
So
the savings account piece,
I have thoughts on
definitely.
the savings account. So I currently keep my 6 month emergency fund in a high yield savings account. It's kind of it's a different one. It's one of the newer ones that kind of gamify savings. It's called YOTTA Bank, and it's only online. It's like only through an app, but they're backed up by an FDIC insured bank, and their APY is pretty low. But
Mhm.
the majority of the money you win is by like the raffles every week, but you don't actually lose any of your money in the raffles. It's just kind of like to get those that segment of people that spend their money on like a lottery ticket instead of putting it in a savings account. They're trying to get that segment to get them to save in savings account, which I totally support. They do this in England, and it's with certain types of bonds, I believe. So it's turned out well for them. So they're trying to bring that here. And you at the end of the year, they don't send you a 1099 int unless you get like 500 or $800. Otherwise, it's like your responsibility to report it. But it's not like like other banks. They'll whatever amount it is that you earned on interest, they're sending you something. So
Mhm.
yeah, as far as gold, I don't have like a lot of background on that, so I don't even want to comment on that. Other than I know that the S&P 500 market has still kind of like outdone gold, but it's all a timing thing. That's why I feel like the fire movement does kind of express like leaving your money in there for the long run, because
Mhm.
then you're kind of your interest should be in the long run trend going up rather than the daily volatile stuff, because then you get emotional and you want to take your money out.
Mhm. My viewpoint on the saving, I use boring old Capital One high yield savings account too, though 0.4% a year. But honestly, the only money that I have in a savings account is my emergency fund, and then if I need money to be liquid, whether I have a trip coming up or I'm saving for a down payment for something. Other than that, I recommend putting your money somewhere like an S&P 500 index fund, because 0.4% a year is not your money's not working for you at all. I think a lot of people our age are just sitting on their life savings and savings accounts, and it painfully hurts me, because I'm like, you could be making so much more money by putting it in an index fund with a TD
Yeah,
Ameritrade or like any other brokerage. As far as gold, I don't want to give financial advice, because this is not financial advice. I think some people look at it as a hedge against the market. I personally am not a fan, though, but that is just my opinion and not
yeah,
advice.
yeah.
Do you
Still
use
gonna get in
Robin?
gold. Oh no, I was gonna
Well,
say if I put in gold, it's probably gonna be in
yeah,
little jewelry. Like at least for little kids in my culture, when they're little, they'll pierce their ears and they have like little hoops smaller than this, but they'll at least be like dipped in gold. And so I'm like, that's probably the extent that I would do with myself going out and getting something gold. But I mean, that's even dipped in gold. It's not like full on gold because you don't
yeah,
want to baby pills or anything.
yeah. Do you use Robinhood? Financial Phoenix recommends Charles Schwab. I use TD Ameritrade. A lot of people give Robinhood a hard time.
I
I don't
never
blame
got
them,
into
but
Robinhood. I
yeah,
was gonna do it to get the free stock, and that was about it.
yeah.
I started off with Vanguard, so I was gonna do Robinhood, and then the whole thing with the GameStop thing happened and everything. So by then I had already opened like a Fidelity and Vanguard. That's what I personally use.
hmm
Everybody choose whatever you feel is best for you. Vanguard, at the end of the day, like the people that they want to respond to are the people who own the shares that like you're buying from Vanguard, like in S&P 500 and everything. Fidelity, at the end of the day, they want to make their board of directors happy, and Robinhood, at the end of the day, they're trying to make the people that they pass on those trades so that they can do your trades happy. So it's just, if you're comfortable with how the organizational structure works, or you just like the interface, go with what's best for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I went on a tangent. After the GameStop thing, I was just like, yeah, I don't think so. Maybe the free stock, and I'm holding it for a year to, get the more favorable tax bracket, but I don't think Robinhood's going to be my pit stop for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than nothing. I mean, I would recommend Robinhood over not having a brokerage account, but yeah.
Oh, and then I found out that like Fidelity has these like zero cost index funds, but you can only get them if you have an account with them. So I was like, okay, well, S&P 500 zero cost index fund, here I come.
Yeah. Bank account wise, Discover has a great dividend. Credit card options, 10 out of 10 all around. Absolutely agree with that. Any stocks you buy monthly? I purchase individual stocks, but I will say that is not where the majority of my money sits. The individual stocks I own are purely for my own interest in the companies. Mm-hmm. Almost all my money sits in, like we were talking about earlier, I do an all stock market index fund as well as an S&P 500 one.
Yeah.
What about you?
I have whole market, S&P 500, and international index fund. Because, whenever one goes up, the other one seems to go down. So if you have both of them, they seem to balance each other out. Again, not financial advice. Guys, go see the trends yourselves. And I do have single stock, but that's more for my company because I get ESPP, and so I get a 15% discount. And my company.
Did you say 50?
15.
Oh, 50. I thought you were saying 50. I was like, oh 50. My gosh. Never leave.
So they made it pretty okay through the pandemic. So I'm just like, sure, why not? And I think it took me almost like 2 years working there before I figured out what a great deal it was. So I'm just trying to make up for it now. And I'm like, what's the maximum I can contribute? Okay, I mean, you guys didn't fall during the pandemic. We're good. Like, I'm trying
public? To get. Are they public?
Yeah, they're public.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it has to be public in order for you to get ESPP. And then I think like SpaceX, like some technology ones, they'll give you RSUs. My company doesn't do that because they're not like a tech startup, although they're considered tech. That's just because they own, I guess, enough stuff to be considered tech. But I don't work on the technological side.
Yeah. I left my job. Well, I still have 2 weeks, but I left my job on Friday. The new company I'm going to, they do a 5% discount for employee stock. And I'm just like, I feel like the way retail trading is these days, like it's a good deal because it's still a discount, but like, I feel like the market these days can swing 5% in a day. So I don't know how much of a,
how much are you really helping me? And then I guess it's a deal for every company, right? Because some companies will be like, as soon as you get it, you can sell it. My company says you have to keep it at least 1 year. So for like 3 quarters out of the year, I'm just like keep accruing more and more risk. But that's my tolerance level. I'm okay with that. And I'm like, bring it on. But I think I was going to keep it for a year anyway, because again, they did pretty well through the pandemic and I'm trying to get the best like tax savings at the end of the year. So I'm trying to keep things for at least 1 year and not trying to sell anything unless I really have to.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. What other questions do you all have here in the chat?
Yeah, bring them on, you guys. Any more questions about FIRE? Let me see. Hi, happy teacher. Hi, good to see you. Time value millionaire. Let's see. Let me see. We could talk about the levels of FIRE.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned before, there's barista FIRE, which is basically like you keep a part-time job and you live, my Spanish is about to come out, más o menos like about $40,000 a year, like less than $40,000 a year. So, you're leaving it clean. And I think that's where the frugality comes in, right? Where you lived frugal up until this point, but you continue to try to live frugal as you keep going. Then there's Lean Fire, where you live on about $40,000 a year, so you have like about a million invested, so you can keep living off of that. Then there's Coast Fire, and you still hold a part-time job, and you have about you spend about $40K to $100,000 a year, so you have about 1 million to 2.5 million. I feel like that may be where you and I are about around.
Mm. And
then there's Fat Fire, where you spend more than $100,000 a year and you have more than 2.5 million invested. So at least for me on my page recently, I've been like talking about like, guys, we can be millionaires, guys, let's be millionaires. And, I feel like, some people may be like, what the heck? Like, how do we get to a million, right? But that's where I know for sure if I continue with Fire, it's like I'm trying to make it a priority, right? I'm trying to pay off anything that I need to pay off first, and those like bills and rent and everything, and then the credit cards, because I just use my credit cards to try to get cash back or points. So I kind of minimize the cash I use and up to the credit cards, and I never carry a balance because that defeats the whole purpose of like points and cash back. And then it goes to investment, and then whatever's like left over, I have like a percentage that goes towards spending, and any that I didn't spend last like week or the last couple weeks goes like towards investments or towards upping my my 6 month emergency fund if necessary. So like, yeah, I want to buy a house someday, so that has to go up.
Yeah,
I just have to see like what date, because California is just expensive as fudge.
Yeah. Financial Phoenix said, I want the fattest fire possible, full send. I agree with you there.
Yes, let's do it. I mean, who does it? Let's do it. Yes. I mean, I don't know. What would you do with like 100,000? Like, I don't even want to think about it. So also, I like wouldn't know what to do with it. Like at that point, I'm bringing people along. I'm just like, guys, let's go party. Who wants to go have breakfast in France? And then we'll go see like the Bulls in Spain. Like, let's just make a day of it.
I would start flying first class instead of coach any chance I get. I don't know.
The planes I currently fly, because I mostly go to Mexico, right? I don't really fly within the country. So when people are talking about like credit card points, I'm like, yes, but who's going like Mexico? Because a lot of them are like going to Europe or United States, and I'm like, none of those apply.
Oh, we will have to talk sometime about that. Yes. I can definitely help you out there.
I don't Mexico, but those are nice. Like I go to like the cheap ones where first class is not even a class on the plane. Like there is no first class. That's the planes that I fly.
Financial Phoenix, that's when the real fun begins. Start building up nonprofits and solving big problems, or go to space just like Jeff Bezos, right? So.
Oh, I do want to. It's on my bucket list, and it was on my bucket list before they figured out that they could potentially make it a thing. So I was like, yeah, it's on my bucket list, and I haven't gotten to that financial status yet. So, maybe by the time I get there, they'll have figured out how to get us to Mars, like on a nice little ship. Like, where do I buy my ticket?
Yeah. All right. Anything else from anyone in the chat?
How are you feeling?
I'm okay. Sorry if I like seem like off right now. I don't know if you could like see it in my eyes. But if you didn't know in the chat, I got a little sick today, so I'm feeling a little rough at the moment. But we're here. We're making it happen. So.
So we're just here taking care of his health, like seeing if he needs any like what is that thing when you get like the I can only come up with it. Yes, Pedialyte. Pedialyte, you need to send some over.
Maybe I should maybe I should drink some Pedialyte or something. I'm not hungover, if anyone's wondering. I'm actually sick. Pedialyte probably still helps, though.
I'm getting you in trouble. I feel like you almost get in trouble with every single live that you have. You're just people just asking random ass questions. I'm like, no, don't ask those questions.
Especially when I'm on live with Josh from Wall Street Junkie. So, yeah. All right.
Yeah. I mean,
it was great chatting with you.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will have to do this again, and we are going to try to figure out how to get you to and from Mexico for free. I think that should be our next live using.
Oh, and my family is a family of 7, but most of us, we only travel 6 of us.
Let's
So,
make it happen.
hey,
I think there's some hacks there that we can discover. So
we would love it. We would love it. Yes.
yeah,
So I'm starting into my points game, so that'll be our next thing.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you
Alrighty.
so much for joining me and
Yeah.
talking about the fire movement with me and everybody else here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, and thanks for everyone for joining.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone. Bye.